Hi, my name is Andy. Welcome back to my shop. In my previous videos, I showed you how I designed and assembled my dust collection system here in the shop. I mounted the Cyclone, the Super Dust Deputy XL, the motor onto a frame onto the outside wall of the shop, cut a hole through so all the ducting can be out there, and it's really taking care of a lot of the noise that would have stayed in here. And with all the concrete walls and the drywall ceiling, would have been very loud and had to wear earmuffs when using it. With it out there over the past couple years, I have not had to wear earmuffs for anything that where the tool is not too loud. Table saw, joiner, planer with universal motor, it's really loud, so I wear earmuffs with that, but it's performed well. I haven't had any issues with it. I think once or twice I've just forgotten to check the level of the barrel, and I go out back where it exhausts and you see a big pile of chips on the ground. So that's pretty easily rectified by checking it more often. I actually cut a window into my current fiber barrel so I could put a sight piece of plexiglass, and that seemed to have helped a lot. So one thing I've noticed over the past couple years with this exhausting outside is during the hot summer and the cold winter, the heated and conditioned air that I have here in the shop gets exhausted if I run the dust collector too long. I've kind of put off trying to work my way through it, seeing if I could tolerate the fluctuations of humidity and heat and cold. But I think it's just time to go ahead and do an upgrade and bring the exhaust back inside and filter it. So seems Wynn Environmental seems to be the popular brand out there, and I went out to their website, actually looked around, and I called them, and the owner actually picked up and chatted with me for a while. Real nice guy, Dick Wynn, and he helped guide me to buying the 2 filters I need for my system, since I'm running the Super Dust Deputy XL with a 3 horsepower blower. He recommended this one, which is the 13F230 Nano, and then don't know if you can see the one in the back is a 13R230 Nano. He recommended their little gear latches here, which looks really like a modified hose clamp, but it looks like these are purposely made actually, because the gearing doesn't go all the way around to this other side. And they usually they'll clip on the inside or the outside flange and hold these two together. And also a set will hold the bucket on the bottom of the 2 that has the gamma seal lid. One of the things I didn't know when I was ordering was obviously I need to build a plenum box to bring the air back in, but when I build that box, how am I going to mount the top filter to it? What width do I need to be and stuff like that. So it really wasn't labeled on their website, but upon arrival, here's the top one you can see here, and it's got this flange which is about 14 inches across and about 16 inches on this longer side, which will be just fine on the concrete block wall, because what I plan on doing is cutting out that block where the X is, and luckily a concrete block is 16 inches wide, it's 8 inches tall. I can get a little more room by taking the mortar on that held that block in out of the lower and upper part, so I can get about 8.5, maybe almost 9 inches of open space top to bottom, and almost 17 inches side to side. I've been pretty impressed with these filters. I haven't run them yet. They all come with their a gasket on it, which it feels like a rubber material. It's got some squish to it, but kind of firm still. And each filter comes with a second one, which I guess I'm going to put on the bottom for the gamma seal lid, because when I connect this one to the lower one, the lower one already has a thing built on it, which is nice. One of the things I have noticed with these is there's a lip on this flange here, and the thickness of this gasket is 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. And since it's kind of stiff but still squishy, which kind of offsets each other, I figure I'm only going to get about 1/4 inch compression on this, before I don't want to bend this piece too much, because it is actually, the filter is embedded in this area right here. And that's where all the glue is that holds filter material and the external cage. These outside dimensions of the whole piece here is 34 inches long, 12 3/4 across, and then 8.5 on this inside, and there's actually 8 5/8. Like I said, they're it's quite a sturdy unit. Here's kind of the other end, if you wanted to know. Is where these gear latches will just clamp right on there real easy. The nice, perforated steel there to, keep the filter in place. They only weigh about 20 pounds a piece. They're just kind of bulky. So that's going to be my biggest contender, is just picking up 2 of these to mount them into a plenum box when I get that built. So hopefully I won't lose much efficiency when I put this in, because I will be obviously recirculating the air, heated or cooled air, which will be nice, but I do have to push air through here, and I don't know how much that's going to affect my flow and the velocity of the air. When I put in my system, I bought this anemometer jeez, the tongue twister. Anemometer off of Amazon, and basically it'll let me measure velocity of air in different increments, which dust collectors are usually measured in feet per minute, and I can put in a cross section of a piece of ducting, be it whatever. Obviously I have the round 6 inch, so I put in the cross section in square inches, or actually it doesn't do that, it goes square feet, so it's like point whatever inches or point whatever square feet, and it'll tell me the cubic feet per minute. Now I'm sure this isn't a perfect scientific instrument, but I'm sure it's accurate within a certain amount, and I try to kind of hold it right on the edge instead of blocking it, where the body of the unit would block the port. So usually when I'm measuring, I try to get just the edge on the edge and let most air go through. Try not to let this influence the velocity and whatnot. And with my current setup, I get about, at my furthest point, which is about 40 feet of pipe, on the 6 inch, I'm getting almost 5,000 feet a minute, and I think that it was like 800 CFM. Now when I put on the little 4-inch hose to get to the tool, obviously the CFM drops pretty good. It may, like in the 700s I think, but the velocity is still there, and it does well. So those are kind of the major components. I got a piece of plywood here that I'm going to be making a plenum box, and it's going to fly away. Got the doors open today. Basically the plywood box is just going to be as big as I can make it to stick through the hole in the plywood. Where this can mount to it, I'll do 4 holes coming in off these corners in equal distance that'll have some carriage bolts that'll come through and just bolt from the bottom to bring it together. One of the things the owner said was to line my plenum box with some scrap carpet to deaden, I think it was, they said, the high frequency sounds. I guess there's that whine you get off the dust collector. So I luckily have some spare carpet that I will be gluing and stapling to the inside of the plenum box. So that's pretty much where we are in getting this going. It's probably been a long time coming. I was hoping that the climate I live in here in Georgia wasn't going to be too extreme, where I could get away with just exhausting outside. I live out in the country, so I have no neighbors to worry about, to bother with, fine particles or stuff like that. So I guess we'll go ahead and get into showing you a design of what I'm going to do for the plenum box. Like I said, I'm going to try to take up as most of the cross section of the brick that I take out, and just stick it, slide through as one unit. And then the last thing that the owner did recommend is, when the air comes into the box, don't have a flat wall for it to hit against. Actually put an angle on it to help divert it into the filter. So if this was standing up, there'd be an angled piece right here, so as that air is rushing in, it'll hit it, but kind of be diverted. So we'll see how that goes. And then also the carpet on the inside to help reduce that sound. Next thing we'll do is kind of look at the plan for the plenum. We'll start cutting it out, assembling it, and then we'll go through cutting out the cinder block back there, trying to minimize dust when doing that. I'm going to use just a angle grinder and a cutting wheel made for masonry. I'm going to try to do most of it from the outside in the shed, and then maybe just hammer it from the inside, or score it, score the edge here on the inside, and then just hit it with a hammer and a chisel to minimize that dust, because that concrete dust it's real fine and nasty, and I don't want to deal with it. So let's see how it goes. So here we got kind of a rough drawing of what I'm going to do for my plenum box. Kind of a front view, if you're looking at one of these cinder blocks, is 16 wide, and it's really about 8 inches high. From a side view, the wall is 8 inches deep. I'm going to come 16 out from the wall to the end of the plenum box, and then my back side I'm going to go out 6 inches just because I have the space to do it. And then the top view here, you can see the black here represents a concrete block looking down that's going to be gone. So you can see it'd be a total of 30 inches long, with a back piece is where the pipe will come in. But what I got here is kind of a mock hole where the filter will be mounted, and then the 4 carriage bolt areas. This bottom squiggly line kind of represents the miter. That'll be right here on this bottom piece of wood, and the top one will be for this top piece of wood. From the side view, you can see the angle on the front here, and this will be access to open it up, look in if there's something wrong. And the way I'm designing this is the top and bottom are going to extend the full width of the block, and then the sides are going to support it. So just the way I decided to do it. I guess I could have done the sides on the outside and then screwed in this way, but at least this way, if the wall wants to compress a little, the sides aren't going to be under the shear force of a screw, so everything will just be squishing down. And this is near the top of the wall on the back end, so there really shouldn't be much of any weight. By taking this one block out, that would cause a structural push on that piece of block. On the back though, because I have that 8-inch collar, that HVAC collar, I have to have a 12-inch piece to mount that to, because it'll stick out really. If this is 7 inches clear on the inside, it's gonna be out here like this. Oops, down here, and that collar will be right here, and then it's got a flange on each side that screws in here. but there should be plenty of square inch room in the diameter. That this is way bigger, so it's just going to dump air in there. It's going to slow down really, and then come in this way and then drop down once it hits here. So basically what I'll do is I'll have that carpet on this face, and then probably the whole way here, on the top and bottom, and then on the sides. I'm going to cover as much as I can, I guess. I got some from when we moved into this house, some spare carpet, so it's nice and clean, and hopefully that'll cut down a lot of the noise like the owner was suggesting. So pretty simple layout. 30 inches on this bottom piece of plywood, 23 inches on this top piece, which has a 45-degree on this. I think this is like just over 8 inches long, 7 inches tall on the side piece. When I get out to this whatever dimension, I guess I'll go with the top one, this 23-inch dimension, which is the tip here, cut it at 45 degrees. I try to make plans, but sometimes I just start going with the flow and just see what happens. So I think next step will be to go ahead and start cutting on the plywood and see how if I can make that piece work, which looking at it should be fine. Well, there's part of it. Just need to create the face right here and the back side, and then I gotta do my measurement for my hole, plan the flange. I got a scrap here. This may fit the front. Close. Probably won't use that, but let me get a tape measure here. So the depth of this is 10.5. So I can put my back piece on here actually. So I make this for the back, and then I got a leftover piece here that I can do for the front. So let's do that. I'll just measure here. And we're looking at 11.25. I have a little bit of overhang, so let's just cut that real quick. Get the right way, so I'll carve it that way. Good. I just have a couple screws around the edge to seal it up. So if that's going to be that, take this. This will just be basically just even that out. So the hole will be in the center. Cut a hole in that. Cut a hole in here. For the flange, what I'll probably do is stick the flange. What I may do actually. Let's do this. Stick. This over. This is the bottom. So I cut this right at 16. So I just come in a little bit there. That's 14 this way. And if I did the 6 and the 8, so that'd be to 14 there. This gives me a little bit of room. This is close to the edge, but not all the way. I think what I need to do next is figure out my holes for here. I was thinking probably like 1.5 inches in from each corner. So no matter which way, well, this way or 180 degrees the other way, it'll always bolt in. Let me show the bolts, carriage bolts I got. I have these 2-inch carriage bolts, which I think that'll be long enough. I mean, you have to basically, you know, this is sticking up some and then account for the squish. So there'll be a nut and then a washer and a lock nut. That should be plenty of space. And these are 3/8, so I just need some 3/8 holes in here. Probably the best thing to do would be make a little jig so all these are drilled the same, and then it'll be easier to transfer those holes onto the plywood. Make sure all that looks right, and then probably the next thing will be assembling this box, making sure everything looks good, and putting the carpet in it to help with that sound deadening. That's probably a better way to look at it there. Yeah, I think it'll work. Alright, well, I think I'm going to stop there for tonight and work on making a jig, and I'll probably next video or next section here will be, you'll see holes in this and moving forward, so we'll cut over to that next.